Hey, everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. Thanks for being out there. Thanks for joining me for the show. That was a cross between Alex Jones and Beetlejuice, I think, right there. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for taking the time. Please take a second to share this and let people know, and let them know that they're missing out and that they suck and that they're sucky people. Let them know that because they're not here. But thanks for being here. For those of you who don't know, all the donations in the super chat go to people who are struggling, people in need out there. And we talk more about that on the Sunday live stream. And then, that's about it. Oh, even if you're not watching live, you can donate on Venmo at Lee Camp on Venmo. And then, so all those donations go to people who are struggling. So I'm going to show you some CNN clips here. We're going to play a CNN segment just so I can tear them apart as the pathetic sacks of shit they are and terrible media they are. And also, they also managed to make the segment a bit of an attack on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And it's actually only, even though they titled the video like digital currency is, what was it again? Digital currency is going to get you or something. Digital currency enables cybercrime. So that's the title of the video. But the video portion that actually deals with cryptocurrency is only tiny. It's, less than a minute of their segment here. But they titled it that because it's now an ongoing propaganda routine to attack cryptocurrency and Bitcoin by the American government, which therefore is also our mainstream media. And here's the thing. I am not, I support, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but I'm also not an evangelist. I don't run around going, it's going to change everything. If we have cryptocurrency, then there will never be capitalism again and there will never be war. I'm not one of those people, and I think those people are lying to you. There are some positives, such as getting outside of the centralized banking system. Also, there are many people around the world who are unbanked, who live in very remote areas, can't get in a bank, don't have a way to protect their money, also don't have a way for family members in other countries to send money to them without massive fees. Often 30% is taken of money sent from one country to another. So those are all huge benefits of cryptocurrency. So I'm a supporter of it, but I don't, have a little vigil to it in the corner of my room that I worship every evening. I don't have there's no altar to Bitcoin. By the way, let's see. So some of you are on YouTube, right? Because it seems to be mainly showing me Facebook, but okay. Anyway, let's get into some of these clips and watch CNN be pathetic as always, as they're known to be.
Joining us now, Kevin Mandia, the CEO of FireEye. Kevin, much to discuss.
It's just me right there. Was she doing an ASMR, let's get going right now? And he's with FireEye, and we're going to. It was kind of a ASMR sultry thing, wasn't it? But anyway, let's keep going.
And great to have you with us. I want to do a deep dive on what's going on here, but my first question is simple: are we making?
I don't think CNN's ever done a deep dive on anything. Can we just say that? So shut up. No, you're not really going to do a deep dive. You got 3 minutes to talk to a CEO about how to view the world. So we've got two multimillionaires. You've kind of got to assume she's a longtime CNN host. He's a CEO. Two multimillionaires are going to really go in a deep dive here for 3 minutes and tell you how to view the world.
Making it worse by paying these ransoms.
So you know what they're talking about, right? The ransomware attacks that have been happening in the U.S., but around the world to some degree. But I guess the ones that we've been hearing the most about are these U.S. ones. And the biggest one was Colonial Pipeline. Was that the one where they shut that down and demanded millions of dollars in Bitcoin? And eventually the company paid. Although they're now saying the authorities were able to steal much of that Bitcoin back somehow. Not sure how. And anyway, they paid it, and it shut down oil pipelines or oil supplies in much of America for a bit. And specifically, I remember like North Carolina, South Carolina, there was lines of cars waiting to get their oil because of that shutdown.
Well, first off, nobody wants to pay a ransom. Start with that one. And that's usually the default beginning for all of these. But I think the calculus.
Now, here's something I'll repeat multiple times throughout this. They're talking about ransom and these evil ransom doers, these evil terrorists doing their ransoms. And they're like, look, nobody wants to pay a ransom and this horrible crime. But keep in mind that most American business is based on some level of ransom. I mean, if you think about our pathetic, awful, unethical, immoral healthcare system, it is a form of ransom. It is basically like, give us tens of thousands of dollars and we will save your life. Give us tens of thousands of dollars and we will fix your eyesight. One specifically was they discovered a new cure for blindness in a gene therapy in certain types of blindness for, it's not all blindness, very specific type of blindness, but, and they could take people that had never seen in their entire lives and give them sight for the first time ever. And they discovered this. And at the same time they announced it, they also said to have one eye done would cost $800,000. $800,000, nearly $1 million to get vision in one eye for the first time in your life. So what are they doing? They're holding your vision ransom. That's what it is. Often people have the health of their children held for ransom, right? Held up for ransom. Basically, the hospital is like, we can fix your kid. We can save his life, her life. But you don't have insurance, so it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars. And GoFundMe's entire model is based on this. Apparently, we now in America, in the United States, we now have GoFundMe healthcare. That's what it is. It's healthcare. It's GoFundMe based system, which it's not a bad idea, right? You don't help anyone, and then those people tweet out, I need help, and it all worked out on its own. It'll work out eventually. I saw someone asked if I can turn up the volume. I have checked all the various volume options, and it seems the volume is as high as it goes in all regards. So hopefully you can still hear it.
Is different by industry because you have to look at the risk. And that's why you just said they're targeting hospitals. Because if you're a ransomware actor and you break into healthcare and you impact the devices that maintain human life, the risk calculus is going to be very different in regards to payment of ransomware than if you run another type of business. So
now, yet again, I'm not saying these ransomware things aren't awful. I don't want to see people in hospitals dying because somebody said, give me $1 million. But it would never even enter the mind of these people, of that CEO or of CNN anchors or CNN reporters, that what they're describing is our healthcare system. Like, it's just, in this case, it's an outside quote unquote criminal saying, we'll let your hospital function if you give us $1 million. And our healthcare system normally functioning is CEOs, is very wealthy companies saying, give us $1 million and we will save your kid. We will save your health. We will give us that, because it doesn't cost them that, right? Now, there could be an argument to be made if it literally was costing them $1 million and it was like, well, what do you want them to pay out of their pocket? But it's not. They want to make ridiculous amounts of profit. They want to make it for their board members, for their investors. They want to show that quarterly they're going to make more money this quarter than last quarter. It is a ransom system. Yet these people on CNN and all your garbage fucking mainstream media shitheads, none of them that idea would never even occur to them. That they are describing our system. And yet, when they talk about ransomware, the people hacking in, shutting off healthcare systems, as he says, and saying, give us $1 million and we'll turn back on your healthcare system. That is a criminal act, right? That is unethical. That is wrong. These are terrible criminals. Oh my God, what fucking disgusting pieces of trash. Holy shit. What human parasites. But it would never even occur to them to say the exact same thing of our healthcare system, of our big insurance brokers, of our big pharma. What is the fucking difference? What is the fucking difference between these ransomware creeps and fucking the Sackler family? Except the Sacklers will never go to prison. They are multi-billionaires despite finally losing their company, Purdue Pharma. And they will never suffer a day in their lives. And they've been proven to have killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. What's the fucking difference? But no, that would never occur to them. That would never occur to your mainstream media. That would never, no one on there would ever say it. If they accidentally invited me on, like Fox News once years ago accidentally invited me on, and I were to say that, they would never have me back, like Fox News has never had me back. So that is, I mean, you got to understand what you're dealing with here. This seems like a normal topic. This seems like, and by the way, you know how I found this topic? This wasn't, I always like to say this because it kind of makes a point. I didn't go trolling through thousands of CNN videos to find the one that was really incorrect. This was the second video I clicked on. And the only reason I didn't pick the first video was because it was Biden talking, and I don't have time for that. I don't have time for fucking Biden's idiocy. All right, let's see a little more, though.
Bottom line, the ransomware actors are targeting specific industries and public companies, recognizing that the likelihood of being paid is far higher in those industries.
And that's the key.
Well, I have to admit, if they're targeting companies, then I like them a little bit better now. I like that. I don't want them cutting off medical machines, but if they're a thorn in the side of colonial oil, colonial pipeline, whatever the fuck, then they sound like good people. All right, I'm starting to like these guys. Hey, if anybody wants to call me up, have a beer, let me know. Let me know if you're going to target these pipelines. Sounds pretty good.
They're going for critical infrastructure, things like hospitals, like food supply, like fuel supplies, for example.
And I love this point. First of all, of course, it would never occur to them, nor would they ever say that going after fossil fuels actually could save all of our lives. It could ultimately, you know, you're talking long term. You're not talking tomorrow. Tomorrow, somebody can't fill up their gas tank to get to work. I get that. But long term, if fossil fuels weren't around, humanity may last much longer. But hi, Tony Clifton. I just mentioned that all of the volumes are up as high as they go. So this must be that CNN put up a video without the volume very high. So I apologize for that. Not that you should want to hear CNN much. But what was I going to say? Oh, so she's talking about how they're targeting critical infrastructure. And that's funny because that's the exact same thing that I was just talking about. That is, there is a reason that fixing your eyesight for the first time ever, making a blind person be able to see for the first time ever, is $800,000 for a single eye. Most of that profit. There is a reason that these fucking profiteers are targeting the same stuff, right? The big oil companies, big pharma, big healthcare, big fucking prisons and military. They're targeting the stuff that people view as crucial. And I get it. I don't want the military to have that much money, but our politicians act like it's crucial, so they keep throwing money at it. So any of the ones where you're like, I have no choice but to give you that money. And the areas where that's true of most people is like the healthcare of yourself and your children. Often that's true in like burial services, right? When someone in your family dies, most people are willing to pay, even if they don't have it, thousands upon thousands of dollars. They take out loans. They get loans from friends to try and pay for the burial services, even if the burial services are not exorbitant. They're not like getting some sort of fucking pharaoh's burial with, people carrying carts on their shoulders and throwing flowers and little boys and not wearing enough clothing and like all this shit. I'm not like gold fucking, I don't even mean that shit. I mean just your average, like someone in my family's died, I have to have a funeral. Yeah, Todd is saying it costs between $8,500 and $12,000 to bury someone. And, it could depend on your location as well. I'm sure it probably costs more in some areas than others. But the reason these things are so costly is because those are the areas where people don't feel they have an option. Same with things like home mortgages, like they're getting crazy because people are thinking, well, it's my home. I have to pay what's required. And so they're finding that critical infrastructure to you and me, the stuff that is critical in our lives, and they're jacking up the price as far as they fucking can to milk you of all the money you could conceivably scrape together. And so while she thinks she's only talking about ransomware actors, she's really talking about capitalism as a whole. That is how it works. Find the things that are critical to people, jack up the price as high as you can.
Are you therefore in favor of banning these payments? Take away the incentive to do another attack?
It's tough. And you'd love to have a simple answer. And really, when you go to the extreme, obviously, Julia, if you pay ransoms, you're propagating the challenge. But the reality is
That's true. We're encouraging them by paying the ransom. So let's stop paying for healthcare. That'll show them. If we stop saying we'll pay for our healthcare, that'll finally the healthcare giants will collapse. No, I don't think that's going to work.
There are probably risk decisions that are made where if you're a hospital and ransomware hits you,
all right,
you may make the decision.
Speed it up.
Better to pay now and de-risk our patients than the risk of moving your patients out of the hospital. So I think a ban is far more complicated once you get below the surface and you really.
I love how again, they're acting. It's funny how there's like small propaganda within this stuff and they kind of don't even know they're saying it. It's just giving in to our kind of social engineering, cultural engineering. But he's talking about how the hospitals just have this really tough decision to make. Do we have to pay it to take care of our patients? And here's the thing, like your average nurse cares about a patient, probably. You could have an asshole nurse, but your average nurse probably cares about a patient. But your average hospital, like the larger entity, they don't give a fuck. They're trying to pump people in and out. They just move it along. It's like a conveyor belt of money for them, just come in. We'll take your fucking appendix out with an ice cream scoop and keep you moving. Don't even lay down. We're going to do it standing. You keep walking. I'll walk with you. I got the ice cream scoop all sharpened up. You just keep going along, all right? Next up, ice cream scoop already lubed up with the last guy's blood. Let's move it along. Like they're just looking for, that's how they deal with like births as well now, right? In the U.S., it's all about pumping out as many babies as quickly as possible. You're hardly laying there for a second. The baby comes up. They have one of those trap doors. The moment the baby's out, they're like, here's your baby. And then a trap door opens, the chair props up and you just shoot down and you're dropped out into the parking lot. It's like a slide. It's a big slip and slide. It's just like you hear the baby, and then ka-chunk, chair, trap door, slip and slide, you skid out into the parking lot. That's how it works. They're just trying to move it along. That's why they force C-sections on so many people. They're like, we don't have time for all the moaning and for you to actually go into pregnancy naturally. We're just going to slice this thing out of you. Keep it moving. We got beds to fill. We beds to fill. All right. We don't have time for you to actually sit here and have birth the way we did over fucking millions of years via evolution. That system had its time. It had its chance. We're just going to slice it out. It's easier to get the baby out the window than the door, just keep it moving. So anyway, my point is like, he says, like, these hospitals are so worried about their patients. It's like, no, they're fucking not. They don't care about their patients. Most of them are trying to make money. There may be doctors, individuals, or nurse individuals who care about patients. Absolutely. I think a lot of them probably got into these jobs because they cared about people. But in terms of the overall entity under capitalism, under a for-profit healthcare system, that is not. No. You're not a hospital administrator or a hospital CEO if you didn't get in it to care about people. Nobody's at school and they're like, I really love people. I want to become the CEO of a health insurance industry. I want to become a company. You know what? I just realized I love people, so I'm going to become I'm going to become a fucking administrator at a hospital as a CEO. I'm going to decide how many patients we really have time to give the therapy to and how many we're just going to boot out of some sort of human cannon thing we got going there. That doesn't have to do with caring about people.
Look at the issues. I mean, I've talked to the CEOs who have to make these decisions, Julia. It's not simple. Nobody wants to pay it. Nobody wants to propagate the problem, but they also don't want to hurt human life.
Yeah, and they've said in the last couple days we've heard from them that it's the toughest.
See, that guy literally just said, I've been talking to a lot of CEOs and they don't want to hurt human life. Listen, I just spent all my time with CEOs and those people, oh God, they just love humans so much. That's why we all get into the CEO game. That's why we do it. I decided to become a CEO and make roughly $1 billion cotillion and have a yacht that actually parks inside of my bigger yacht. And I did it all because I care about people. I'm just worried about these people, is what it comes down to.
This decision they've ever had to make in a leadership position. And
toughest decision they ever had to make. That's right. Whether to keep making profit or not. The toughest decision they ever had to make was to pay $1 million in ransomware so they can keep exploiting people. It's just so tough. It's just so tough whether to do that or not.
I couldn't agree more with that. So we can't be on the defensive. We shouldn't be having to make these decisions.
Okay, she just said cunt twice on national television, and I'm not okay with that. She said we can't be on the defensive. We can't make that decision. And CNN, listen, I'm not a prude, but you just can't be yelling cunt so much on your news station like that, CNN. Get your shit together, CNN. Come on, this is a family network. Kids are supposed to watch your propaganda. You can't just be yelling cunt so much. Really.
Decisions. We should be on the offensive, Kevin. We can't be on the defensive. We shouldn't be having to make these decisions. We should be on the offensive, Kevin. Let's explain why this is happening and why we're seeing this huge acceleration, particularly in the last year and a half. Is it about the fact that we're introducing vulnerabilities with greater digitization, working from home, or is it just that the software that allows hackers to mount these attacks is more available?
All right, she just said something about hackers mounting someone. I don't know. This news report's getting a little too dirty for me. I think I'm gonna start blushing.
Well, I think the biggest reason, Julia, these keep happening is we're only playing defense. The best defense in the world gives up touchdowns.
Got to play offense. Kill all the hackers. Is that what he's gonna say?
That'll be my football analogy for today. And that's all we're doing. If you can commit a crime from 10,000 miles away in a safe harbor with no risk or repercussions, you're just going to keep taking shots.
I love that he just perfectly described our entire multinational corporate system. If you can commit crimes from thousands of miles away with no risk or repercussion, you're just going to keep taking shots. Thank you, Mr. CEO of FireEye, for defining all of multinational corporations. If you can just sit overseas and destroy lives and make millions of dollars with your crimes without any risk or repercussions, then you're just going to keep doing it. Exactly. Yet, do you think CNN's going to have that report? Do you think CNN's going to do a 10-minute segment on how these multinationals are they just sit there in another country, destroy? I mean, hell, half of the multinationals that that you think of as American companies aren't even centered in America because they don't want to be have to pay American taxes. So they themselves are in other countries just fucking lobbing their crimes at America. You know, Google's headquartered in some other country. Apple used to be in Ireland, then it moved to like the Isle of Man or something. And so all these companies, Burger King moved to Canada. He was our royalty, all right? Burger King was our monarch, and then fucking Canada took him. It's bullshit. But anyway, thank you, FireEye, for describing. By the way, FireEye is the name of a anti-hacking digital security system. It's just what I called it when you got bad diarrhea. You got a FireEye going on. I thought that was everybody. Maybe that's not everybody.
Period. Indefinitely. And sooner or later, they're going to work. If we don't find a way to impose risks or repercussions to those launching the ransomware attacks, over time, every company's going to have to deal with one.
Or how about a way to impose risks and repercussions to all of the corporations that are destroying the planet, destroying the world, destroying our lives? How about that? There's an idea. Such as the pipeline, the fossil fuel company that was shut down by a ransomware attack. Should we not give them a repercussion, a ramification, a penalty for destroying our futures, for destroying our planet, for destroying the world? No, not them. Just ransomware people. Here's the thing, though, and they're not talking about this, and I haven't even heard many people at all talking about this. But the reason these ransomware people are disgusting is because they're asking for money. But if they were doing it for other reasons, if they shut off an oil pipeline, not because of ransomware, but because, not because they wanted money, but because they just announced, we want to save all of humanity from global warming and the inevitable demise that we're creating with fossil fuels. If they did that, be a completely different discussion, right? Maybe not on CNN, but I think in a lot of areas of the world, be a very different discussion, wouldn't it?
In repercussions then in this case, because what we've seen, particularly in the last couple of cases, we believe is that these attacks aren't being done from the United States, they're being done from other countries where the leadership has pretty little incentive, quite frankly, to do anything about these hack attacks.
Yes, other countries don't have the law and order that we have here in the United States. As we continue to make sure a journalist is tortured in Belmarsh prison, a man named Julian Assange, we're going to, wag our finger at these other countries who don't have an incentive to stop these ransomware attackers. They're not doing anything to help us here in the United States. And by the way, this goes to, I don't think they go on to say any countries' names that they believe are, but in other segments on CNN and on all these mainstream media networks, they love to say they originated in Russia. The hackers were in China. They were in North Korea or what, but just because a hacker is in a country does not mean he or she represents their government. So this whole it was Russian hackers. Well, unless it was a Russian government hacker, then it just means a dude. All right. This toxic nationalism, which is horseshit, and it's used to push out their propaganda. Don't give into it. Just because a guy was in a country, and I mentioned this on the last video, when it's an allied country, and someone's doing something wrong, then they don't act like all British people are the same, right? So they, I mentioned in the last video, Cambridge Analytica, British company, manipulated dozens of United States elections. And we even when they were talking about it, even when the story finally came out and the mainstream media finally covered it, they didn't say the British company originating in Britain, originating in the United Kingdom. They didn't do any of that crap because it's an ally. So when it's an ally, now we laser focused on the guy or the person or the entity that did it. Whereas when it's in a country we don't like Iran or Russia or something, then we say the Russian hackers, right? You don't hear them ever go, the British Cambridge Analytica, because that serves their propaganda. You associate the country with the crime, doesn't matter what it is, something that they're talking about. And therefore, all Russians, all Chinese, all Iranians are that criminal. So.
Hacks or target the hackers themselves. So how do we create repercussions?
Well, very simply, we're an international community. The internet's connected all of us. It's only, it's been around since the 1980s. We've got to figure out how we're going to work globally on this. If you want to be part of the global economy, the bottom line is I think there's rules you're going to have to follow, and you cannot condone bad actors that are stealing potentially billions of dollars from other nations. So I think.
Oh, we're a global community that needs to work together. Oh, you mean like to deal with climate change? You mean like to deal with environmental collapse, even that's not connected to climate change? You mean to deal with the fact that the oceans are filling with plastics, or the fact that we're cutting down all the trees? Do you want to talk about how we should be a global community and discuss that, deal with that? Should that be a report? Nope, just ransomware. Just this thing that actually harms large corporations. That's the only one that really matters.
The answer is not just technological, Julia. It's also going to be diplomacy, potential economic levers that you can pull, but it's going to take nations banding together to figure out.
No, nations banding together. That might be nice too, huh?
What are we going to do about this? Because most people will think it has crossed the line of toleration. Status quo is no longer tolerable.
Yeah, there has to be economic and financial consequences as well. Talk about the impact of digital currencies, because what we have heard in recent weeks is that these payments aren't being demanded in US dollars. Digital currencies are being given as an option, and that's how they're being paid.
Absolutely, Julia. That's been the progression. It used to be if you're an attacker and you wanted to monetize your hacking capabilities, you'd hack into computers and steal credit card data, and you'd purchase things, or you'd hack in, change applications so you could fraudulently order things. Now you break in and you can deploy ransomware, or you can steal documents and extort the fact that you're going to publicly release private documents. Digital currencies are basically anonymous currencies. So you add the anonymity of digital currency, and now you can commit a total crime from 10,000 miles away from the victim, be anonymous in cyberspace during your attack, and be anonymous in cyberspace collecting the payment via digital currency.
Yes. Digital currency is to blame for these attacks, right? It's there. And by the way, I know that they just got to it, but the whole video at CNN is titled Digital Currency Allows for Cyber Attacks or something like that, or encourages. And yes, it's digital currency. That's the real problem. Kind of like when we found out people were using crowbars to break into houses, we banned all crowbars. Yeah, crowbars totally illegal now because they're allowing people to break into houses. Or we didn't do that because they're a fucking tool and you can use them in different ways. And if someone uses them for a bad thing, like beating someone to death, you don't ban the tool. Now, I know many people are going to make the analogy about guns, and I am not someone who believes that there should be no guns, but when you get to a tool that can wipe out hundreds of people at once, then you can start talking about the tool. Same reason we don't allow grenade launchers as a legal device. So, but in terms of your average tool, such as a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency that is used for, right? They're used for thousands of transactions. Bitcoin's used for millions of transactions around the world. How many of those are fucking crimes? small percentage. And then you got to talk about, well, what's a crime? All right, well, just because somebody's using it to pay for some drugs, well, I think drugs should be decriminalized anyway. So when they say, oh, allows criminal activity, well, yeah, a lot of criminal activity was allowed by dollars too, right? Until Bitcoin came along. And by the way, still dollars are still the number one transfer of not just dollars, but paper currency or some sort, are still the number one used currency for crimes, right? If you add it all up, the fucking drugs, sex trafficking, et cetera, there may be some Bitcoin transfer, but more of it is still to this day in, various forms of dollars and other currencies. So other fiat currencies. So does that mean we ban dollars? Because that's the number one used currency for crimes. It's such a stupid fucking idiot argument that is designed just as propaganda against Bitcoin. As I said at the beginning of the video, for those who might be joining it late, I'm pro Bitcoin. I think it has some benefits, but I also am not a Bitcoin evangelist. I don't think it's going to change capitalism. So until you stop capitalism, you will always have people putting profit over all else. You can switch to Bitcoin and you aren't going to change the systems. So there's some positives, like those who are unbanked around the world, those who try and send money home to poor nations. There are definitely some positive. Some of the anonymity is very positive, but so I'm pro Bitcoin, but I don't think it's going to save the world. Anyway, as I was saying, this classic anti-Bitcoin propaganda. Elizabeth Warren put out an anti-Bitcoin propaganda the other day video. It seems to be all coming at a concerted effort by the U.S. government and those attached to it, like CNN, to slowly, malign and attack Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies so that they, get to a point where people don't trust them. And the U.S. dollar, again, can be kind of the most talked about reserve currency of the world. So it seems very concerted and put together to now be going after cryptocurrencies as they're doing in this video. Although, like I said, this video has 1 minute on cryptocurrencies, and yet the whole video is titled "Cryptocurrencies Allow for Ransomware Attacks."
So there's no question digital currency in its form today, how it's managed today, does enable cybercrime.
I mean, in the colonial pipeline case.
And dollars enable just about every other kind of crime. So we should probably ban all dollars, right? I mean, that's the next step. You need to ban dollars and ban cryptocurrency and ban anything connected to a crime. I once raked my neighbor's leaves in exchange for some Monster energy drink that I snorted. And so I think we should ban raking leaves, because I exchanged that for my drug of choice, which was Monster energy drink up the nasal passages. And so in order to do drugs, I was exchanging raking leaves. So it only makes sense to ban raking leaves. I mean, that's clearly the next step.
And we can come back around to that. The payment was recovered for various reasons. There has to be a protocol here. And I think what we also heard in the past week was that, these CEOs, they weren't quite sure what to do. They weren't sure of the protocols. Fortunately, in both cases, they called the FBI and were like, guys, this is what's going on. What do we have?
Fortunately, they called the FBI. It's good to see the FBI get a little promo here. FBI doesn't get enough good advertisement time, so thank goodness she's just like, fortunately, we had the FBI.
To do is the very basics here in terms of companies, and obviously you advise many of them on how to tackle these things, that we need a protocol. This is what you do. This is who you call. This is how the payment's made.
All right. Boring.
Criminals figure out a way to use it, and a lot of times they're faster at innovating on how to use it to make money and enable their enterprise than the good guys.
I'm going to assume that by criminals, he means corporate America. And I'm going to assume by the good guys, he means all of us standing up against corporate America. And he's absolutely right. They often use corporate America, all the criminals there, learn how to use all of these technologies quicker than your average person on the street who is not harming millions of people. So, we got to find a way to stop those criminals from doing that. And the way to stop corporate America is trash capitalism. Oh, yeah, there's that. That might be a good plan.
So there's no question we have to do a little catch up now and look at digital currency and figure out how do we manage it in a way that's meaningful and prevents all the fraud that's currently occurring with the enabling digital currency.
And you notice he also said that it's being digital currency is enabling these crimes by the anonymity. And so he's saying we need to come up with a version of digital currency that allows us to stop these crimes. So what is he really saying? Let's come up with a cryptocurrency that isn't anonymous, that can be carefully tracked by governments and authorities. That's what he's saying. Let's come up with our cryptocurrency run by the oligarchy. That'll be cool. Then we won't have to deal with this. We won't have to worry about the little so-and-sos, causing problems for us big shots.
Okay, Kevin, upshot. Are we winning this war or losing this war? And does it just mean more spending required, both from the private sector and the public?
Is it a war, or is it a few businesses that you're upset got hacked?
Well, I think it's an ongoing effort. You don't win the fight on crime overnight. Quite frankly, you're just always fighting it every single day, Julius. So just...
if he means crime as in everything that goes on Wall Street, then yes, we are fighting it every single day. And unfortunately, Wall Street still exists. So, we got to keep fighting.
As you read the headlines, we're certainly getting better. We're certainly looking at ways for nations to respond more cohesively. And that's been the dialogue in the United States. How do we respond not just as individual companies, but as a nation to the cyber threat? So we're going to get better at this.
How do we respond as a nation? We got to pull together, folks. Pull together. Not to deal with climate change, not to deal with environmental destruction, not to deal with the fact that we've killed 50% of all animals over the past 40 years, not to deal with the fact that the insect populations are all collapsing, not to deal with the fact that the oceans are acidifying and shit like that, not to deal with any of that, but to stop these people from stealing what amounts to a parking ticket from massive corporations. That's what we got to come together on right now. Got to do it. Got to come together. Stop this shit. All right, guys, that is Moment of Clarity. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. Hope you're seeing how to watch your mainstream media. I know most of you already got it, but this is how if you ever watch mainstream media, this is how you should watch it. You break down each sentence. You understand the propaganda. You see where it all is and why they're saying certain things. And some of it's very obvious. Some of it's kind of hidden in there. But this is the way to watch mainstream media. If you ever have to. I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying, if you're held down, tied up, and someone fucking puts a TV on in your face and just starts playing CNN or Fox News, this is how you should watch it. Thank you guys for joining me. All donations go to people who are struggling. The one place you can go, though, to support my shows and Common Censor, my podcast, and things like that is liberapay.com/Lee Camp, liberapay.com/Lee Camp. I switched there from Patreon because Patreon completely destroyed my account, and they take a large percentage anyway. So it ended up being better, I hope. But anyway, thank you again. And new Redacted Tonight VIP just came out. That'll be on my site soon. And new Redacted Tonight comes out tomorrow night on Friday. So please check that out and keep fighting.